delegates please find their seats? Would the House please come to order? Honorable Secretary General, Deputy Secretary Generals, student officers, delegates, directors, Herr Brüggemann, admins, press, and distinguished guest. Welcome to the closing ceremony of the 18th Annual BERMUN2 Conference.
After nearly 3 years, we have had the pleasure of being back in the Konrad Adenauer Foundation. The CAS has welcomed us for many years, and we are once again grateful for their support. We extend our thanks to Dr. Busch-Jansa, Herr Bäume, and Herr Brüggemann, who have helped us tremendously over the past few days. Please join us in a well-deserved round of applause. Additionally, we would like to say goodbye to the Berlag Lyceum and the Cologne International School, as they will be leaving before the end of the ceremony. Thank you for enriching our conference with your contributions.
For the past 3 days, you have been considering the various aspects of our theme, responsible resource consumption. In the opening ceremony, we heard from our keynote speaker, Herr Tietze, who considered the power of negotiations when addressing responsible resource use. We also listened to a speech by the Secretary General Friedy Martens, who discussed whether or not economic growth is compatible with responsible resource consumption. Yesterday, we had the honor of hosting Herr Lichatz, who described what it is like to represent a country in the United Nations Security Council. We also solemnly commemorated the 1-year anniversary of the Russia-Ukraine war. Members of the staff team, Secretariat, and directors attended a demonstration in support of Ukraine at the Brandenburg Gate in the evening. Throughout the last 2 days, the 7 committees debated solutions to the various different committee topics. Therefore, we would like to invite Solomon Iro, one of this year's Deputy Secretaries Generals, to take the floor and elaborate on the proceedings of the last few days. For over 3 years, Solomon has been an active and passionate member of the John F. Kennedy School's MUN program, and we have had the pleasure of working with him to plan this conference over the past months. His enthusiasm and sense of humor were greatly appreciated in our long meetings. Mr. Deputy Secretary General, you now have the floor.
"100 years ago, a monkey living in the rainforests of South America could have traveled the entirety of the continent without ever touching the ground, from Sao Paulo to the coast of Ecuador. The tropical rainforest took thousands of years to grow and develop. It only took humanity 200 years to destroy. Of the 14.5 million square miles of rainforest that once covered the planet, only 35% remains intact. The area that has been destroyed by humans is equal to half of the United States. You may know this. In preparation for this conference, and over the past 3 days, we have spent dozens of hours thinking about responsible resource consumption. Some of you discussed the glaring danger of energy overconsumption, while others wrecked their brains in lobbying, trying to find solutions to end humanity's dependence on crude oils. In the SC, for instance, delegates also debated the possibility of regulating the extraction of Arctic resources, evaluating ideas such as creating an Arctic Permit Council with rotating membership. Committees like the ECOSOC even at one point debated the value of free and fair elections in the context of the exploitation of LEDCs. What all of these discussions have in common is that they could not be tailored only to your personal system of belief, but that of every other person in the room. The most important question to ask ourselves right after this conference is, what have we learned? This question is so important because it has so many answers. And while we all improved our debating, speech writing, and general diplomacy skills, I believe it is more important to actively think about the content of our discussions. Model United Nations is exactly what is implied in its name, a model, a simulation. In an oversimplification, we dress up in suits, pretend to represent the views of a country which may have nothing to do with our personal beliefs, and refer to ourselves for 3 days without using the word I, hopefully at least. The danger of this simulation is the way in which we connect ourselves not only from our own person, but from reality itself. We debate wars in committees, joke about crises, and, just for the fun of it, make an implicit remark about the genocide that is happening in China right this moment. This holds true just as much for topics such as this year's, responsible resource consumption. We have to remember that what we are discussing, yes, is a simulation, but it is a simulation of the real world. We have to hold ourselves accountable for our actions outside of this simulation. We drive often. We have to hold ourselves accountable. Many of us, myself included, still eat meat. It's tough, but we have to hold ourselves accountable. In fact, this whole simulation needs to hold itself accountable. Between BERMUN and BERMUN2, many of our participants fly thousands of kilometers to be here. We knew this would be the case, and we discussed the possibility of doing a hybrid simulation. We voted, and we decided against it. BERMUN needs to hold itself accountable. The phrase, "in a time like this," sounds outdated, possibly because it has been uttered in every period of history, ever. But the truth of the matter is that we stand before unprecedented challenges, and we cannot afford as much hypocrisy as we have been allowing ourselves. If there is anything that all of us here can take away from this conference, I want it to be that we have to hold ourselves accountable. Because this realization can be the only thing that will make a real positive impact. What we can do to maximize this impact is what our President of the General Assembly will speak about shortly. Thank you.
Thank you, Solomon, for your detailed remarks, reflecting on the work accomplished at the conference and highlighting the discrepancies between the content discussed at this conference and our own behavior.
Another integral part of BERMUN2 is, of course, the student officer team. Finally, you have watched all your preparations come to life. We've enjoyed the process of working with you and will never forget our long meetings and extended preparation sessions. A big thanks to your commitment and professionality. We will now entertain speeches from the student officers of all BERMUN2 committees and forums, discussing their deliberations over the course of the last 3 days and recounting their favorite experiences from their committees. First, we will hear from the chairs of the World Health Organization, Josie Reamer and Charles Yang. Please approach the podium.
Over the past 2 days in the World Health Organization, we discussed the role that genetically modified organisms play in solving our world hunger crisis. Should we use these at all? Over 462 million people suffered from malnutrition each year, and GMOs offer a potential solution. GMOs are shown to potentially grow quicker, as well as use less pesticides. However, there are many concerns. For example, having been around for only so long, there's a lack of testing. Additionally, the GMOs could damage biodiversity. And there are ethical implications to using GMOs. Furthermore, corporations can own patents to GMOs, which can lead to a monopolization of our agriculture industry. Our delegations had to decide the right course of action in about this ever-evolving technology and had very fiery and fruitful debate.
In our committee, The delegates had amazing discussions during lobbying and came up with 4 well-crafted resolutions. Of these 4, 1 passed with both regulations and further research on GMOs being put into place. We also had some great moments that brought us together as a committee. We had lots of simping over delegates and came up with some amazing acronyms such as IKEA, Sigmas, and our favorite, Funk Frogman. And of course, we can't forget about our amazing committee wedding. We would also like to thank our delegates for creating lively discussions and our 2 committee admins, Yola and Anna, for making our cookie breaks wonderful and making sure that our committee ran smoothly. Overall, we thoroughly enjoyed chairing this committee, and we hope to see you all again at a future BERMUN conference. Delegates of the WHO, please rise. This is your applause.
Thank you, chairs. Please accept this token of our appreciation.
Next, the chairs of the Environment Committee, Mathilde Adelhofer and Samuel Beer.
Honorable Secretariat, fellow chairs, dear delegates and guests. In the Environmental Committee, we have debated 3 resolutions on the issue of reducing international dependency on crude oil. Delegates have made efforts, and they had to compromise to come up with common solutions. Delegates have decided on reducing the production and trade of crude oil, combined with the transition of energy supply to renewable and sustainable energy sources. Adding on to that, we decided to create subcommissions with names such as acronym-PO and Berlin that would track and supervise member states' transition towards reusable energy. Nuclear energy was definitely the most controversial aspect of our topic and challenged delegates as they had to decide whether the advantages outweigh the risks. In regard to the conference theme, our resolution reduces plastic use and waste, and we were able to promote independence for MEDCs and LEDCs in terms of their energy supply.
Thank you. iPhones, we all have them. Thank you so much, Matilda. You have been the best chair I ever could have asked for, and you have very much improved my time at BERMUN2. Our debate was not only fruitful, but fun. As delegates named a subcommission of the UNEP, systematic allowance for more United Nations engagement levels for nuclear power, provided us with laughs in between the intense debate about exponential functions for some reason. And delegates of the EC, I have of course not forgotten Pinda, our beautiful stuffed panda mascot. Lastly, we of course have to thank our wonderful admins, Tara. Thank you. Delegates of the EC, please rise. This is your applause.
Thank you. Please accept this token of our appreciation.
The next speech will be coming from the presidents of the Security Council, Paul Kepler-Gouras and Moana Kamara.
Honorable Secretariat, fellow chairs, dear delegates, esteemed directors and guests. Death. We were expecting many interesting hooks in our committee, but we can surely say that death was not one of them. On Friday, our delegates first broke the ice by introducing their favorite songs, whereafter they actively gathered signatures for their clauses. The efficiency and productivity of our delegates enabled us to start debate 2 hours earlier than we first anticipated. The ensuing debate did not disappoint, especially considering our multifaceted question of resource extraction in the Arctic. Now, I would also like to express our gratitude towards Committee Admin Lani, who worked tirelessly to ensure our committee could run smoothly. Lastly, on my part, BERMUN2 is not just fun because it's professional, but also the people you work with. This year, Moana and I worked as a team to create the best committee at this conference. Moana's incredible work ethic and professionalism really made my job easier and helped the debate flow exceptionally, especially considering it was her first time chairing.
Under the conference theme of responsible research consumption, the Security Council addressed the pressing issue of Arctic resource exploitation, both in the light of the environmental destruction this can cause and current geopolitical tensions. There could not have been a more pressing topic for this year's SC. Especially considering the power balance in the Security Council as well as the Arctic Circle, delegates needed to use all their diplomacy in order to reach a compromise, and this they certainly did. The Security Council unanimously passed a resolution with an impressive 23 operative clauses. Delegates were extremely productive, yet the fun was not neglected. The trading of business cards during lobbying was an interesting event, as well as the not-so-relevant, not-so-realistic proposal of, quote, the construction of a global capital and Arctilis in the Arctic. Additionally, I would like to thank our admin as well as the president of the SC, Paul Kaplagouras, for making this committee so enjoyable, finding a motivating word for everyone, as well as keeping a cool head in all situations, even if the thermostat in our room was set to 32 degrees Celsius.
Delegates of the Security Council, please rise. This is your applause.
Thank you. Please accept this token of our appreciation.
Next, the presidents of the ICJ, Zebe Spolka, Justin Böhn, and Benjamin von Schweinitz will be holding their speech.
Over the past few days, the International Court of Justice discussed the case Nauru v. Australia. Nauru is a former UN trusteeship, a state managed by a member state under the principles of promoting the political, economic, social, and educational advancement of the inhabitants and their development towards self-government, as well as encouraging respect for human rights and other fundamental freedoms. Australia, the member state administrating Nauru, strip-mined it for its rich phosphate deposits. This irresponsible consumption of Nauru's resources destroyed 80% of Nauru's surface. We entertained 2 excellent witness testimonies where our advocates and judges diligently examined the witnesses. During judge discussions, judges openly debated, in sometimes heated debates, who the court would rule for. Our advocates and judges were able to meticulously work through the case and build an engaging environment when simulating it.
Judges and advocates of the ICJ participated enthusiastically both inside and outside proceedings. The advocates showed great commitment and presented significant evidence. Judges were thoroughly engaged during discussion and prayer editing, so much so that they jumped the gun and went straight to the prayer editing during discussion. The judges decided to found the UNBRED, the United Nations International Benefit to repair eco-social damages, to give half-yearly installments and to ensure environmental, social, and economic requirements are fulfilled. We debated the implications of this case and eventually managed to settle on the previously mentioned UNBRED to settle the repair of the eco-social damages to Nauru. Our committee observations consisted of compliments, bad pickup lines, and a marriage proposal. To finish off the conference, we married the 2 lovers and had a karaoke competition with the ECOSOC. My thanks goes to you, members of the ICJ, for making my first experience as a student officer a great one. This conference was a banger.
Our judges have worked tirelessly throughout the last few days in order to objectively weigh the carefully crafted cases the advocate teams have been creating since December. Throughout the trial, judges realized that there was no clear answer to these accusations. Similarly, there is no clear answer to responsible resource consumption. Now, although all other committees sit here knowing the outcome and conclusion of every resolution and amendment passed and or failed, the applicant and respondent teams of the ICJ do not yet know the results of the judges' voting. In the case of certain phosphate lands, Nora v. Australia, this court has ruled unanimously in favor of Australia, crafting a prayer crafting a prayer in which the previously mentioned unbread committee for the will manage UN funds that will be given to Nauru. Although no ruling is ever perfect, I firmly believe that our judges and advocates were able to come one step closer to building a sustainable, fair, and equal future, one that we as a conference and individuals can and should be proud of. To conclude this year's successful International Court of Justice at BERMUN2 2023, judges, advocates, witnesses, and admins of the ICJ, please rise. This is your applause.
Thank you, Presidents. Please accept this token of our appreciation.
The next speeches will be coming from the chairs of the Junior MUN, Zara Louise Danziger, Philip Roshta, and David Beller.
Honorable Secretariat, distinguished delegates, fellow student officers, and esteemed visitors. For the last 3 days, the Junior MUN Committee has debated the issue reducing pollution in industrial zones and inner cities. Pollution actively counteracts responsible resource consumption in many ways. Pollution can make the access to clean resources way harder. A perfect example for this is water pollution. Every day, around 8 million pieces of plastic pollution find their way in our oceans. When it gets harder to find clean and usable resources, it also becomes harder to consume these resources responsibly.
Ladies and gentlemen, think of your very first MUN experience. Got it? Great. Well, at this conference, I heard a lot of nicknames for the term juniors. Small legs, kindergartners, minions, and my absolute favorite, the gnomes. Now, get back to your thoughts of your very first time. How would you feel if someone called you a gnome? Tell you what, the gnomes managed this conference amazingly great. In our committee, half of the participants were complete newcomers to Model UN, but that didn't even distract them when debating and being some of the best delegates in our committee. We passed a resolution with 23 operative clauses to make responsible resource consumption by means of pollution possible. As solutions, they agreed to reduce pollution in inner cities through low emission zones for private vehicles, which is a great step to make public transport an even better option to choose when going to work. And also we agreed on funding LEDCs in the progress of cleaning water and investing into clean energy sources. Juniors, now talking to you directly. Look at you, how all of you have evolved over the past 3 conference days. We are incredibly amazed by your participation and involvement you had at this year's conference. You have proven once more that Junior MUN is worth all the effort, but on top, you have proven that the Junior MUN is possible at the Konrad Adenauer Foundation. Also, your voices should be heard as equal as any other delegate at this conference. And it was a real pleasure working with you.
Sorry, hold on. Okay. The Junior MUN this year has been the kindest committee I've ever been in. We had non-stop compliments to everyone in our committee observations, and we had support by everyone and no judgment. I find this noteworthy because the Junior M has a bad name, and that isn't justified, as Philip mentioned. The majority of our committee was very inexperienced. They all proved that they were more than qualified to be part of a conference. Now on to the fun stuff. I know I mentioned that our committee was kind, but this did not prevent our delegates from almost starting World War III on several different occasions. Threats of nuclear war and invasion by boxing kangaroos, despite our topic being about preventing pollution. We also renamed one of our delegates from Benjamin to Jessica, and we had a secret poet who wrote some very sweet poems.
Our delegates were incredibly persistent as well in using personal pronouns, prompting a punishment for almost the entire committee at the end, singing Don't Stop Me Now karaoke. One more thing. Thank you to our admins for making our committee run very smoothly. And delegates of the Junior MUN, please rise. This is your applause.
Thank you. Thank you. Please accept this token of our appreciation.
The next speech is from the presidents of the Special Conference, Philipp Wagner, Greta Zoll, and Eralb Toka.
Throughout the last 3 days, the Special Conference came together to create solutions to end energy overconsumption. Ending energy overconsumption is crucial to mitigate climate change, avoid resource depletion, prevent environmental degradation, and avoid negative economic impacts. It is essential to transition to renewable energy sources and adopt energy-efficient practices to reduce our reliance on fossil fuels and to promote sustainable development. Ending energy overconsumption is relevant to this year's conference theme as it helps to reduce the depletion of non-renewable resources and promote sustainable energy practices.
Good afternoon, everyone. As one of the MUN chairs, it is my pleasure to address you all today and reflect on the remarkable experience we've had in this committee. We are really happy that we managed to pass all 3 resolutions. At the outset, I must confess that when the debate began, it started off at a slow pace. But as the hours passed and the delegates delved deeper into the issues at hand, I witnessed something truly remarkable. I saw passion, determination, and a deep sense of responsibility within each and every one of you. The once mild-mannered delegates had transformed into fierce warriors, armed with facts and arguments to defend their positions. I was awed by your eloquence and the remarkable vocabulary you displayed throughout the conference. The precision with which you spoke was a testament to the extensive research and preparations that had gone into this event. You have truly outdone yourselves, and I'm humbled to have had the privilege of witnessing your remarkable growth and development. As we come to the end of this conference, I urge you all to continue this spirit of cooperation and collaboration beyond the walls of this room. May you continue to be invested in the issues that affect our world, and may you always be driven by the desire to create a better future for all. Thank you and congratulations on a truly unforgettable experience.
All right, now to the fun stuff. Whew. Gosh, I like it. All right, from meditative breathing techniques to frequent karaoke and just dance sessions, we had a lot of fun. Despite the fact that our delegates over-enthusiastically wanted to punish Greta and I for, I don't know, and for the fact that they mispronounced Harold's name, it was really fun, and yeah. Although this will be my last BERMUN conference, we hope to see you next year. Shout out to the very, 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 very special conference. Delegates of the SPC, please rise. This is your applause. Fuck, I forgot the admin.
Thank you. Thank you. Please accept this token of our appreciation.
Next, the presidents of the Economic and Social Council, Tadea Zering, Maike Horrister, and Antonia Jana Minich.
During this year's BERMUN2 conference, the Economic and Social Council discussed the topic of protecting states from exploitation of natural resources by multinational corporations. This question arises due to the issue that many current LEDCs lack the technology and frankly the budget in face of corruption that is required to sustainably extract natural resources by their own means. Thus, due to the nature of their dependency on the economic businesses that multinational corporations provide, LEDCs are often caught in less than ideal or sustainable agreements. Therefore, it comes to no surprise that the exploitation of resources by any force, domestic or international, proves an important question to address for this conference theme of responsible resource consumption. Yet no matter how difficult this issue seemed to be at the beginning, our delegates were ready and motivated to discuss it.
Due to strong speeches and amendments submitted by our delegates, we managed to pass 2 out of 3 resolutions. From the multitude of speeches to insightful amendments, confidently working towards our goal to protect states from exploitation of resources, we definitely made our debate a lively one. Many were first-time delegates, and while at first they seemed reserved, they quickly gained confidence and expressed their opinions. These opinions range from an attempt to take away freedom of speech to stating that free and fair elections do not make a democracy. There was also a number of pro-capitalist remarks in debate. The ice was quickly broken, and delegates were often found discussing amendments and debate during lunch. They effectively cooperated together to improve resolutions and finished lobbying an hour earlier than expected. I would also like to thank my fellow chairs, Antonia, for her constant help, such as clarifying the difference between replacing and changing an amendment, and Tadea, who, despite her constant criticisms of my gabble skills, did manage to help me in my first time chairing. It was an absolute pleasure chairing you all, and I hope to see you all again next Boom.
I'd like to start by appreciating my fellow chairs, Tadea and Mika. Not only have they been amazing people to work with, but as a guest chair, they also made me feel included at all times. Furthermore, our delegates managed to remain professional most of the time, but they did burst out in laughter when Japan asked France if they hated LEDCs. Besides, our delegates not only debated on the issue of responsible resource consumption, but also had several hot discussions about whether the window should be opened or not. In addition, our debate was enhanced by the sound of phones dropping on the floor every other second, and the USA and Canada suddenly playing music on their phones. Lastly, we would like to thank our admins for keeping our committee organized at all times. Thank you, delegates, admins, and fellow chairs for making this conference so special and for making us win in the karaoke battle against ICJ. Everyone from ECOSOC, please rise. This is your applause.
Please accept this token of our appreciation.
Finally, the press editors-in-chief, Mia Robertson and Robert Fabeck.
Bill Gates once said, "We're in a situation where information is the most valuable thing you can have. The more you know, the more valuable you become." End quote. But how much do you truly know, and how much do you just consume? Dear participants, consuming information is not the same as knowing information. The process of learning takes time and revision until it is fully internalized. The key word in the aforementioned quote is know rather than consume. Knowledge does not come from a 15-second video or a sentence you see on social media. Knowledge comes from engaging with others and educating ourselves through various experiences, such as BERMUN2. In the last few days, you have intensely discussed resource consumption, that is, the consumption of oil, gas, or water. But digital media and the internet have become an essential resource that people use every day as well. All of the information in the world is available at your fingertips. It is available to you whenever and wherever you want. You have become accustomed to using digital media daily. But does this remain without consequence? Our brains are not accustomed to this overconsumption of media. There's a limit to the amount of data we can internalize and turn into true knowledge. In a time where overconsumption of information is common, we have to become responsible consumers of digital media. Technology needs to be seen as a resource instead of a necessity in our daily lives. In the last few days, technology has aided your intense discussions and fruitful debate. But most importantly, you are leaving this conference with more knowledge than before.
We would like to express our gratitude for everyone that has made this conference possible. BERMUN is more than just a conference. It is an experience that is only possible because of you. We would like to especially thank the student officers and the Secretariat for their enthusiasm and work throughout these past few months. Thank you to the admin team for your constant willingness to help and your organization throughout the entire conference. Additionally, we want to thank all of the directors for their continuous support throughout these past years. Thank you for believing in all of the students and pushing them to become the best participant they can be. We would also like to thank the press team for their diligence and hard work throughout the entire conference. We are so impressed with your ability to spread joy and enthusiasm during the conference while still getting all of your work done efficiently. Thank you for making my last BERMUN conference not only a success, but also an enjoyable experience. When I first joined the press team in 2018, I experienced the joy of BERMUN Press, and I knew that I wanted to create the same environment for my future press teams. I can now say that it is thanks to every single member of the press team that this goal was accomplished. The press room was continuously filled with laughter, yet everyone worked extremely well to produce thought-provoking content. Thank you, Robert, for your cooperation and for always setting goals that help improve the entirety of the press team. Without every single one of the participants here, this conference would not have been the same. So thank you for your dedication to the program. Members of the press team, please rise. This is your applause.
You can accept the token.
Thank you. Please accept this token of our appreciation. Thank you, student officers, for your hard work in committees and before the conference. Now, I would like to introduce Ophelia Reuter, our President of the General Assembly, with whom we have had the pleasure of working with since December to create this year's BERMUN2 conference. Ophelia has been extremely helpful in leading our student officer team. She never fails to better our moods and motivate us through her uplifting positive quotes in our meetings. Madam President of the General Assembly, you now have the floor.
Leave no one behind. The 2015 UN Sustainable Development Goals strive to follow this motto with all 17 of their goals. Politicians, diplomats, and leaders have met in world summits, UN forums, and even here in the CAS to try to tackle this issue of responsible resource consumption. Now, in the past 3 days, we have found it to be up to us. Although we have been playing the part of different delegations at this conference, our passion to address this issue should not die down. We need to find ways to take the things we've learned at this conference and apply them in the real world. As with several global problems, we have found that the root of this issue lies in cooperation. MUN is about realizing that all countries have different challenges, privileges, and goals. However, only considering their country's future and therefore blocking collaboration is harming the planet as a whole. The concept of sharing has been proposed as a potential solution to these issues. The 17th UN Sustainable Development Goal focuses on revitalizing global partnership for sustainable development and the sharing of knowledge, technology, and resources. Let's consider the benefits of sharing resources on a global level. In a world where natural disasters, poverty, and diseases are rampant, sharing resources such as food, water, and medical supplies could potentially improve living conditions in poorer countries. During the COVID-19 pandemic, for example, Developed countries like the United States and the United Kingdom shared vaccines with less developed countries to help combat the spread of the virus. Governments and regulatory bodies have been slow to adapt the resource sharing, and laws and regulations have not adapted to the changing landscape of consumption. This has resulted in legal challenges for sharing platforms and their users. Economic systems incentivize ownership and consumption, and many industries and businesses rely on this model. As a result, it can be challenging to shift the mindset of consumers and businesses towards a more collaborative and sustainable way of consuming. Amid ambitious economic goals, countries easily lose sight of the vital advantages collaboration embodies. Global economic sharing could also prevent international and national conflicts over vital resources. It could require a global governance framework, reforming the way that we extract, distribute, and consume the Earth's finite resources. Sharing resources could help reduce global inequality and poverty by bridging the gap between richer and poorer countries. By providing access to resources and knowledge to all countries, regardless of their economic status, we can work towards creating a more equitable world where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. On the other hand, some argue that global sharing could create a dependency on richer countries. Kamraj Subedi, a professor in economics, claims that this aid dependency could create a global power structure in which weaker countries are economically reliant on stronger countries, allowing the stronger countries to exercise significant control over the weaker countries' economic and political behavior. He further elaborates that richer nations and corporations could use trade deals to exploit poorer countries for their resources. An example of this could be the colonial powers in Africa and Asia, plundering natural resources such as minerals and rubber, while also establishing trade policies that favor their economies over local markets. This has created a system of structural inequality that continues to exist today. These same countries still rely on foreign aid to provide basic services such as healthcare and education, which can make the countries unable to support themselves in the long term. The Belt Road Initiative, introduced by China in 2013, relies on aid dependency. It forces countries to be indebted to China, hence the dependency. This leads to further economic instability, the very thing that the Belt Road Initiative advertises to solve. The affected countries are marked here on the map. Furthermore, some argue that global sharing is simply not practical, as it requires a significant redistribution of resources and wealth from richer countries to poorer ones. This poses logistical challenges. For example, the transportation of resources across vast distances can be costly and environmentally damaging. Additionally, there is the issue of infrastructure, as many developing countries lack the necessary infrastructure to store and distribute resources effectively. It is not a question of whether global sharing is fair or not, but rather how we can make it fair. We need to focus on creating a system that enables all countries to benefit from sharing resources while also ensuring that these benefits are not abused. Delegates. Throughout lobbying, you had to work hard to collaborate and compromise. Throughout debate, you submitted amendments for MEDCs to fund LEDCs or for MEDCs to share their resources. It seems clear to most of you that sharing bears the opportunity to save certain countries. Of course, you are representing your delegation's perspective, but your problem-solving skills didn't change no matter what country you've represented these past few days. This gives me hope. As we continue to face unprecedented challenges such as climate change, resource depletion, and economic inequality, there is growing need for compromise and collaboration skills. I expect that all of you will use what you have learned to find better ways to cooperate. We discussed how to be more sustainable and responsible from now on. Directors talked about sharing or borrowing conference attire instead of buying new ones every time. We talked about taking reusable water bottles to the conference, which hopefully most of you have done. We tried minimizing food waste by trying to make reasonable portion sizes. Delegates expand on these goals and come up with more ways to be more sustainable. Let us strive for equity. Let us strive for collaboration. Let us leave no one behind. Thank you.
Thank you, Ophelia, for your remarks on the events of this conference. Your further elaboration on our conference theme, especially on the importance of global cooperation, are highly appreciated.
Unfortunately, the press video, which should be played at this point in the ceremony, cannot be played right now. It will, however, be available shortly on the BERMUN Instagram for you to enjoy. That's 2023 BERMUN. We would like to take this time to extend our gratitude to everyone involved in executing this year's BERMUN2. First and foremost, we would like to thank all of you. As delegates, your preparation, professionalism, and enthusiasm has allowed this year's conference to be a success in all forums. Of course, none of us would be here if it weren't for our directors. We thank you for your commitment and all the time you have spent to provide this opportunity to your students. From registration to preparing your delegates' research and writing resolutions, we would not be successful without your guidance and support. Especially the directors who have to give up their personal time with family to travel with you. Let's take a moment to extend our gratitude to each of our directors.
We would particularly like to thank our BERMUN2 directors for their work ethic and the extra hours they spent with us in shaping the BERMUN2 2023 conference. Their hard work has truly paid off, and we could not be more thankful to them. We would especially like to emphasize the contributions of Ms. Robertson, our conference manager. From sending more emails than we can count at all hours of the night to ensuring that the platform functions properly and keeping us on task, Ms. Robertson has been an essential part of our team. Thank you for your unlimited commitment to the conference and to us. We will be getting your gift shortly. Let's get a round of applause to Ms. Robertson.
The admin team and the approval panel took care of so much that it is hard to actually name it all. With every challenge we face, these committed individuals take on the front line, multi-managing everything from our resolutions' grammar and spelling errors to making sure our committees are well-fed and organized. For their relentless efforts, they deserve the thanks of everyone who took part in BERMUN2. We thank the heads of admin, Stella, Francine, and Julius, and their entire team.
Another vital, yet below-the-radar organ of BERMUN2 is the tech team. This year, the tech team held the first entirely student-run live streams in BERMUN history, including this one, enabling the ceremonies and special events to be shared outside of the plenary. We extend our gratitude to the tech team, especially the head of the tech team, Benedikt Winkler.
We would like to thank Alexander Gintar and the entire team from MUN World for the conference platform we all used.
Over the last days, it has been a pleasure to witness the work of the conference. All your contributions helped make this BERMUN2 the success it was, and for that, we cannot thank you enough. We will now be distributing certificates to each school. Delegates that held speeches in the opening ceremony, when we call your school's name, please approach the dais to receive your certificates. Please ensure that only one delegate per school approaches the dais. Please do not distribute these to your fellow participants now, but rather wait until after the ceremony. I will now call out the names of the schools. Albert Einstein Gymnasium, please approach the dais. Anne Frank Gymnasium. BBIS Berlin-Brandenburg International School. Berlin Cosmopolitan School. Aralp, you can approach the dais. Berlin Metropolitan School. CJD Christophorus Schule. Europäisches Gymnasium Bertha von Suttner. Evangelische Schule Frohnau. International School Haarlem of the Netherlands. ISG Rostock. Johann Gottfried Herder Gymnasium. John F. Kennedy School. John Lennon Gymnasium. Julius Spiegelberg Gymnasium. Leibniz Gymnasium. Nelson Mandela School. Paulus Pretorius Gymnasium. Prem International School. Primo Levi Gymnasium. The London Oratory School. Theresienschule. We have now reached the end of the conference. Thank you for all your work, and we hope to see some of you back at the next conference. It is now my distinct honor to declare the 18th Annual BERMUN2 Conference as officially closed.
Before you leave, we have a few brief announcements. As you leave the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung, please remember to leave your plastic badge holders in the boxes by the doors so that they can be reused responsibly. You may take the placards in front of you home as a keepsake from the conference. Student officers, please approach the dais shortly after the ceremony.
As you leave, we hope that you will enjoy the music and beats from the press team's Tony Aldani.